Hi everyone. Before I launch into the monologue for this week, please bear with me while I remind everyone about my patreon.com site. You go there, you sign up there, then you show meaningful support for the channel. You make it possible. Costs about the price of a cup of coffee a month, but in return you get early access to new content and exclusive access to a question and answer session every week. There's all sorts, competitions, the opportunity really just to be part of a community of like-minded people. You get access to maybe the sort of people you'd like to hear more from. It's a great site. Join up, help make it better. Okay, now it's time for that monologue. People wealthier than me have insisted to me over the years that money is freedom. Maybe the only freedom. If you don't have money, you're trapped, basically. And I get it. And up to a point, I certainly agree with that idea. I mean, it's obvious enough. If you have no mortgage, if you maneuver a situation or you leverage a situation where you have no mortgage and no debt, then the baddies can't get at you in a lot of the usual ways. Because a person with money, you might say they're out of reach of a great deal of the everyday stress that hobbles lives. When you get right down to it, I mean, I put down a lot of my, not being awake, my state of slumber that lasted for decades. It wasn't slumber exactly. A lot of the time I was just preoccupied with paying the bills. Self-employed person. I was always looking out for the next contract and stuff. So, it was preoccupation with servicing debt that kept me distracted from everything. Anyway, that's another story. So the more money you have, hypothetically, you're told, the more freedom you have. But I would say what I've noticed is that all around us is evidence that it's not just the usual ways of burdening us, of enslaving us, that we have to worry about now. A few days ago, and I'm recording this on August 27th, 2024, a Russian-born billionaire, Pavel Durov, described as Russia's Mark Zuckerberg, founder and CEO of the messaging app Telegram, was arrested as he got off a private jet in Paris. And as I think he's still banged up now. Speculation abounds, as they say, regarding why he was detained, why he's being held, and what he might be charged with. And at the moment, suggestions include... what a lineup. Alleged complicity in drug trafficking, fraud, links between Telegram and organised crime, whoever that is nowadays, illicit financial transactions, child pornography, and, perhaps most interesting of all, he's accused of refusal to disclose information to authorities. Again, whatever that means. Online commentators are wondering if Durov's arrest boils down to his resistance to playing ball with the intelligence community, so not doing as he's told. Russian officials, it said, use Telegram because it's encrypted. It lets them take advantage of privacy to keep their communications from prying eyes. And apparently fighting men on the ground in Ukraine use it too, for the same reason, or it's just their familiar app for staying in touch. And Russian spokespeople have said that there are fears in Russia that Telegram might be made a tool of NATO. And someone called Tatiana Moskalkova, who's described as presidential human rights ombudsman, she was quoted saying, "The real reason for arresting Pavel Durov was to shut down Telegram, a platform where you can discover the truth about what's happening in the world. Everyone who strives for free speech protests this," she said. Now, you can take any and all of that with however many pinches of salt you like, noticing at the same time the fairest whiff of irony. But nonetheless, the arrest of one of the world's richest men is surely interesting. French President Emmanuel Macron is trying to hold the speculation at bay. He's kind of trying to distance himself. It wasn't me. A big boy did it and he ran away sort of line. He's insisting it's not a political move, that it's down to the judiciary. But he would say that, wouldn't he? Because apart from anything else, Macron doesn't have his troubles to seek right at the moment because he's embroiled in chaos and opposition following his refusal to accept a left-wing politician as his prime minister, despite the fact the left-wing New Popular Front Alliance, as it's called, having won the most seats in last month's legislative election. And the left has accused Macron of, quote, an anti-democratic coup. There's coups happening all over the place. The US, Sleepy Joe Biden, so on and so on. I would say France has simply fallen every bit as far from any sort of democracy and towards totalitarianism as many Western countries. It's all of a piece. Britain, the United States of America, the list is long. It's also frightening. There's no denying it. It's frightening to watch all these former beacons of freedom, well, supposed freedom, unsecured and profoundly vulnerable freedom, as it turns out, because they snipped it off like that. Those beacons of freedom are growing dimmer every day. One communications platform after another is targeted, as well, and perhaps just as interesting in a way, as well as the rich and powerful, and therefore you'd have thought safe individuals behind those platforms, according to the hypothesis that the more money you've got, the safer you are from aggro. But I mean, some of the better known platforms and their owners folded long ago. I mean, they possibly were always folded. You know, they may well have been put in place from the beginning as factotums. Who knows? Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook, which is now called Meta. It's annoying, in the same way that Twitter is now called X. No, anyway, but so Mark Zuckerberg has just told the US House Judiciary Committee that his company caved in the face of pressure from the Biden administration. Pressure to censor pandemic content, pressure to bury stories about Hunter Biden's laptop. It's amazing, isn't it, how you can just say the Hunter Biden laptop and all of the cognoscenti know immediately what you mean. Hunter Biden laptop. Zuckerberg said the facts were debatable or even true. So when he was in the business of censoring, that what he was censoring, the facts were debatable or even true. Now that's a fascinating choice of words. Elon Musk of X/Twitter, he's under pressure from the European Union because apparently at least he won't do what they tell him in regards to censorship and misinformation, disinformation, malinformation. As in so much else in life now, it's hard to discern whether we're dealing with real fights or just confected smoke and mirrors to distract the likes of us, the chattering classes, from what's really going on. But maybe there really is some blood in the water somewhere. Rich men's blood among it. I see the full tilt boogie gallop towards digital slavery, totalitarianism, whatever, made possible by technology, is a symptom of intense fear on the part of those moving to, among other things, throttle free speech, to censor and silence, to prevent public access to inconvenient truth. The sort of people ending democracy, even the appearance of democracy, are the most frightened people on the face of the earth. I'm sure of it. It's easy to understand why. If you have so much, if you have almost everything, in fact, wealth, power, comfortable distance from the huddled masses, control of the creation and supply of money, ownership and control of the land on which the world's food is grown, ownership and control of the world's energy supply, traditional energy and emergent new energy. If you have all that, then what could be more disturbing of a night's sleep, a good night's sleep, than the fear of losing it? It's an awful big It's like Smaug in The Hobbit sat on all that gold. What if someone comes for it? All those billions of nameless, faceless souls, from whom almost all has been taken, now looking around to see where everything has gone, to see who took it, and from whom it might be necessary to take it back. Imagine knowing all that unrest is out there, knowing that if steps are not taken, sooner or later, all that unrest will turn up outside your castle walls. So why would any of us trust the likes of them to give fair and meaningful votes to the people? All across the West now, democracy is gone, smothered, pillow over the face style, and buried in a shallow grave. The uni party is all there is now in that arena. And that's made voting like picking a car from Henry Ford in the old days when he said you could have any colour you wanted as long as it was black. The fiat currencies, also known as the money in your pocket, well, the fiat currencies are utterly without value. They're only kept standing, just a dead man walking style, by the force of the will of those who've spent the last few years creating oceans of worthless tokens, because that's the only option they have. Quantitative easing. The only option, that is, until they force central bank digital currencies on everyone. Pulling off that final sleight of hand ahead of everyone realising that everything's been mysteriously stolen. All the securities, all the pensions, all the stocks and shares. Millions of people around the world, people who've worked and saved, people who think they did the right thing, paying into pensions and other securities, are still blissfully, painfully unaware of another sleight of hand pulled off by the powerful, which was to change the reality of ownership of things like shares, replacing actual certificates with digital promises of ownership. The law has been rewritten in the back rooms, out of sight of the masses. And those digitised promises mean less than the paper they're not written on. If and when the big financial balloon goes up and bursts, and everyone goes looking in a panic to cash in their chips, can I have the value of my shares? Can I have, whatever I've invested in a pension? Only then will everyone realise that a handful of transnational entities, like literally no more than you would take two hands full of fingers to count, have secured what's called preferential claim on the big cake. Everything, securities, pensions, stocks and shares, everything like that has all been heaped together in one big pile on a table around which everyone is sitting with a digitised virtual claim of ownership. But unbeknownst to the millions, there's only this handful of transnational corporations and entities that have been granted, with the force of law, preferential claim on it. Right? They're going to get it. They'll get it. You don't. You're further down the queue. Sooner or later, more and more people are going to realise what's been done. Hence the fear. It's out there for the people that are keeping the secret. And even now, many, many people know they've been had for the longest time. The penny has dropped. And in pursuit of the facts and the truth, they went online. They read and they watched and they learned, and then they shared what they'd learned with others and learned more. They learned about scams on a global scale, lies so big they're almost impossible to see. They started seeing that wars were waged not for democracy or freedom or anything honourable, but as smoke screens for the making and transfer of money, for the seizing and holding of control. And so now those frightened, terrified elites, let's call them elites, who fear the people more than anything, find themselves deliberately or inadvertently, who could say, in the end game, it's time to fish or cut bait now. And maybe they're ready for it. Maybe they're not. They're clearly fighting among themselves as well. Hence what's happening for people like Durov and Musk and others. Maybe all the ducks are in a row, and maybe they're not. But things are speeding up as we hurtle towards something. Democracy, that pesky nonsense about giving the people a choice, far less a say in the nature of their governance, that's gone. The Democrat Party in the United States of America, if you watched the DNC, the Democrat National Convention in Chicago last week, the Democrats are, ironically, you'd have to say, the poster boys and girls for the murder of democracy worldwide. They've done away with it. They're leading the charge there. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., scion of the quintessential Democrat family, he's exiled by the party. He's even exiled and cast aside by his own siblings for daring to want to end wars, daring to want to stop censorship, daring to want to make American children healthy again, free from man-made chronic disease, given something better to eat than toxins that make them fat and sick. This is America we're talking about. Opposition to big pharma, to big agriculture, to big banks, to war, has been made tantamount to sedition. Maybe much to the fury and frustration of the totalitarian-minded, a union, an entente cordiale of a Kennedy, that Kennedy, with Donald J. Trump, might snatch some sort of victory from the jaws of defeat. Who knows? It's certainly interesting to watch in Arizona. Creation and control of money is in the hands of secretive private businesses. It's that simple. Unelected and unaccountable, and in existence and empowered only to line their own pockets by enslaving the masses with debt. They control energy, they damn near control the food, they're working on it. They wage war wherever and whenever they like. In the end, it all comes down to the truth, access to the truth, determination to speak and share the truth. And so inevitably the same people that came for the money, that came for the energy, that came for the food, have come for the truth. The US forced the sale to American business of Chinese-owned TikTok. The European Union is pressurising Elon Musk to cede control of X in meaningful ways. Macron's France has arrested the owner of an encrypted app that won't let the powerful read other people's private communications. In Britain, violent people are freed from jails to make space for people who've done no more than post messages on social media that don't help further the enslaving, feudalising ideology of Keir Starmer and the Uniparty, world's worst boy band. Everywhere the people are to be controlled, censored, silenced, kept apart from one another. Any person enabling in any way the masses to share information out of sight of prying eyes, regardless of whether that person is good, bad or indifferent. Anyone representing privacy, anyone enabling conversations by like-minded people who've awoken to the big lie, and in the end there only is one big lie. Anyone refusing to take part in shutting down the world is firmly in the crosshairs of the totalitarians. And all the money in the world won't protect that person's freedom, the freedom of any of us, unless we speak up now.